and people tried to put us down. When iTunes bumped the post-Cold War sound, my generation sat at the mecca of malls. Times Square, I'm there, Viacom installed. So we hit the net while the Trade Center fell. New York met Hollywood, we ran like hell. No Vietnam for us, Joe, Iraq, it's on. So who agreed upon this cowboy Genghis Khan? The choice made, baby. Hey, we take it back. Logged in, dropped out. MTV took track. They sold it back to us and claimed the correlation. The iMac, iPod, iGeneration. And I'm waiting for the day we can get out. The world is ours. That's a story, no doubt. Wanna be more than
Every now and then I write letters just because it's more personal and some girls like that.
I still love getting letters though.
Yeah. It's sad that we don't do it. Writing a letter, I do emails. So.
My parents are kind of, they don't really know too much about it. They always ask me for help, like setting up a stereo or something, hooking up the computer. The internet goes down, it's a crisis.
A lot more, just because like they came, I think, yeah, both of our parents were born in other countries, so like they came here, it was all sort of new. And
We're always like teaching them.
yeah, like we know more about the computer and stuff usually.
I know a lot more than my parents because like whenever the router breaks or the internet goes down, I have to fix it, and then I have to do all the like wiring and putting computers together and all that great stuff.
My mom doesn't know how to like do a lot of stuff that like even just like attaching documents
Or even like typing, like my mom still types with 2 fingers, or like we like learned when we were little.
I was talking to my mom about this a couple of months ago when she was talking about how like on a Saturday morning she'd wake up and then she would eat breakfast or whatever, and then she would get on her bike and go and all play with her friends, and now she sees me and I'm like talking on the phone or IMing or watching TV or something. That's like something completely different.
We have a lot more technology today than our parents' generation did. They might have had a typewriter, awesome, it's so cool, but actually it's not cool today.
I use technology for quite a few things. Like when I come home from school, the first thing I do is I get on my computer and I check my email. And then I check one or several of quite a few webcomics that I read. I use the internet to check my homework. So I go online and I figure out what I have to do for class the next day.
I personally feel that technology can never replace human connection and human contact. And I think that people are so hungry for that kind of connection, and they, in a funny kind of way, computers do isolate you because there is this machine between you and another person. It's not a direct contact, it's not a direct connection. And in that way, I don't think it has helped us in our communication today. I think it has actually hindered and prevented people from learning real communication skills.
Whenever you go to a restaurant and you have to like wait in line before you get seated, and there's a whole bunch of other people there, people would like talk to each other and like start conversations and like meet new people. But now you go and you're like waiting at Chevy's or something to get seated, and people are texting and listening to their iPods and on the phone, and it's like complete silence compared to different people.
I express myself a lot through technology. I write stories and I write everything on the computer. I make movies on the computer. I use the computer and technology and stuff all the time.
I was a musician when I was very young, so I guess I used to retreat to my piano and express myself through music in that way. And I loved drawing, I loved art.
I think that technology allows for more communication, but whether that communication happens is totally dependent on whoever's using the technology.
I text and MySpace and all that stuff like probably every day, multiple times a day. Probably takes out a good 2 hours of my day.
Now I'm sounding really hypocritical because I spend like a lot of my time on the internet, but I don't spend it like on MySpace, basically putting up my picture and saying like, hey kids, this is who I am, because I'm not the kind of person who thinks that you should make friends through the internet. Like a lot of people have, and that works out for them, but I'm really a big fan of human contact, so I don't do MySpace. If you're trying to meet new people, you should go out and meet new people.
When we meet people, we communicate with them through our senses. We get a lot of information visually, through our hearing, through our kinesthetic sense, through our bodies. And when people are trying to communicate over the internet, they don't have any of that sensory information at all. In my experience, I think that technology has changed the way teenagers see themselves. I feel that it doesn't really encourage self-confidence. If you're always relying on a machine to communicate what you need to say, it becomes a type of surrogate voice.
You're able to connect with anybody at any time, but whether people do or not, it's totally up to them.
My cell phone is very friendly to me. It's my best friend.
I don't know if I'd be who I am if I didn't have that technology.
Our generation is so much more cool because we got all this technology and stuff.
I think that technology is something I wish in the future that teenagers would move more away from and more into personal contact. But as I say, every new technology has its pros and cons.